Oh god, okay. Listen, the earliest memory I had as a kid was actually seeing Transformers Revenge of the Fallen with my dad. It was actually that movie, in fact, that inspired me to want to pursue a career in film, and the whole Bayformer Transformers saga as a whole has a special place in my heart. But god, the last night sucked. It sucked, it's like straight garbage.
No, literally, why do you have to be like that? Pourquoi?
I mean, most filmmakers usually want to end a franchise on a high note, but apparently, for whatever reason, Bay took everything great about Transformers, literally threw it aside and used it as the devil's litter box. Now, rather than just make a video complaining about some sort of pop culture media, like pretty much every single video out there on YouTube, I want to actually take a challenge and see if there's any way we can salvage The Last Night. And believe it or not, there is. I mean, I wouldn't be making a video about it if there wasn't. It is a challenge nonetheless, but one we can get through. Now, without further ado, let's salvage the atrocity that is Transformers: The Last Night.
984, we got multiple explosions.
So before we get into things, we all know the sucky plot of the movie, right? Optimus in space, space wizard goddess, evil Optimus, horrible French accent.
Please, mademoiselle, don't do that!
Cybertron attacking Earth, oh no! Evil Optimus evil for like 20 seconds, explosions, space wizard goddess dead, and yeah, that's about it. It's a sucky story. So with that in mind, the first thing we need to address to fix this cinematic mess is a quintessential aspect of storytelling.
Did you forget who I am?
Continuity is defined as the maintenance of continuous action and self-consistent detail in the various scenes of a movie or broadcast. And as an example, I personally enjoy Transformers Age of Extinction for their adherence to story continuity. The inclusion of Ratchet and Leadfoot and Brains from Dark of the Moon, archives footage of the Battle of Chicago, Optimus's evasion mode resembling his Bayformer trilogy attire, it all adheres to the story continuity established in the previous films. But The Last Night decided to throw a few irksome errors into the works. First and foremost, every legend hides a secret. That statement was on every single piece of marketing media for the film. And one of the movie's biggest reveals is that Transformers have been here through every single era of human history. The only prominent example shown is Bumblebee and Hot Rod being the driving force that ended World War II. But that makes zero sense, because according to the story previously established, Bumblebee arrives on Earth in 1985 and eventually reunites with Sam to protect him in 2007. He was not there in 1945. Other subtle examples of Transformers repatriating themselves into our history comprise of basically blink and you'll miss it images, which include Hound and General Washington leading American troops through the wintry forest landscape, Drift being a notable swordsman among the greatest samurai warriors during the Qing Dynasty, Ironhide pulling in a shipwrecked vessel without its mast, Starscream assembling behind a line of World War I fighter jets, and of course, Hot Rod standing behind the members of the Order of Witwicken, which dates back all the way to 1901. Now, don't get me wrong, human culture and Transformers have interacted in ancient times, but don't randomly throw in your modern core cast of characters into the mix just to inherit some free marketing publicity. You just end up tarnishing an already coherent story. And believe it or not, there's a super easy fix. Don't include them as part of our history. You want to reveal that the ancient Cybertronian Knights of Iacon helped King Arthur jam the tide against the Mantra Saxon army? That's okay. In fact, that sounds epic as hell. But don't reveal last minute that Bumblebee and Hot Rod heroically ended World War II. Remember what the movie title is, Transformers: The Last Night, not Transformers: The End of Hitler. Now, that's just one issue, but there are plenty more, including...
Did you forget who I am?
Switching from a technical standpoint to a now more personal standpoint, the Transformers lore has introduced many fan-favorite staple characters and stories that we as fans cherish today. One of those characters being Nemesis Prime. Sure, he was introduced in 2001 under the alias Scourge in Transformers Robots in Disguise, but ever since then he's been a reoccurring icon in the Transformers media, and fans have loved the idea of an evil Optimus Prime. So when the teaser dropped for The Last Night, fans seemed to have their wildest dreams come true with an evil Optimus Prime taking the stage. And they were right. But unfortunately, it was a backstage, with Nemesis Prime's screen time being tragically brief and significantly underwhelming. His evil presence, to put it best, was just out of place, and just when we got used to his evilness, Bumblebee's true voice snaps him back into reality, and evil Optimus Prime was gone like he never existed. And as a personal gripe, I feel like studios are too afraid to portray an evil Optimus Prime. It's just out of fear that their target children audience would become perturbed and they would just essentially reject the franchise. And that's emulated completely. Nemesis Prime doesn't even damage Bumblebee enough to prove his villainy, and then boom! Nemesis Prime is gone like he was never there. We'll return to him later in the video, but just to fix the whole Nemesis ordeal, the movie should have stretched out his screen time and made his presence more domineering and basically memorable. Moving on.
Did you forget who I am?
Now this is probably the biggest slap in the face Michael Bay has ever given Transformers fans. Teasing the inclusion of a fan favorite character from the original Generation 1 era, only to have him killed off a second after stepping on stage.
I got the land! His fat head.
It's laughable. It is straight laughable. And Jesus, there's such an easy solution for this one. Megatron, during the course of the film, assembles a crew of Decepticons that were incarcerated for notable crimes. But these were studio-created Decepticons, meaning brand new and no connection to the past. These included creatively named Dreadbot, Nitro Zeus, and Mohawk. Wow! But then there's Onslaught. Onslaught, the leader of the Combaticons, the one everyone wanted to see, pushed to the background as a memorable Easter egg. Okay. So conveniently in the Transformers mythos, Onslaught was the leader of the Combaticons, and they were first introduced as miscreants that violated the Decepticon justice system. So much, in fact, that their personality components were incarcerated in the Decepticon detention center. So, wouldn't it make more sense for Megatron to jailbreak Onslaught and the rest of the Combaticons to combat Cade and the Autobots? And if your first thought is that the studio couldn't handle another makeshift Transformers combiner, I tell you, wrong. Look no further than to the Infernicons. They were 6 ugly-looking Cybertronians that could shift together into a hulking behemoth dubbed Infernicus. So, Bruticus, the combined form of the Combaticons, could have made his on-screen debut into the Transformers cinematic universe, but I guess that idea has to be scrapped, seeing as how Drift just had to.
I got the land!
Now we move on to the most crucial element that brought The Last Knight so much distaste.
Did you forget who I am?
Ironically enough, the overarching story of The Last Knight is adequately palatable. A Cybertronian sorceress is bringing Cybertron to Earth to restore it, while in turn destroying the Earth. Throw the ancient Knights of Iacon interacting with King Arthur and an evil Optimus Prime into the mix, and you have an adequately palatable story. It's the payoff, however, that's done horribly. The third act is so rushed and sloppy that there's no fulfillment from watching it. Evil Optimus's evil switch is turned off way too easily, the Knights of Iacon do jack shit to save the Earth from Cybertron, and the whole kill Earth to save Cybertron, while a visual pleasing spectacle, was just an awkward sequence. So, without further ado, here is my rendition as to how the third act should proceed. When Nemesis and Bumblebee engage in their duel, it should end with Bumblebee dying at the hands of Nemesis Prime. I don't care if those two are your staple kid appeal characters. Kill Bumblebee off. You killed Optimus in the second movie, you can kill Bumblebee in the fifth. Anyways, this would transition Nemesis to join Megatron and his army in defending the ignition chamber from Cade and the Autobots. Before the final battle, I even feel like a conversation with Megatron and Nemesis should be documented. Nemesis is a mind-controlled Optimus. People say he was brainwashed, but it's all mind control. He's still Optimus. He possesses Optimus's memories. So a brother-to-brother conversation where the two talk about the past could bring depth to these two characters. Now, I heard there was flashbacks initially slated to appear in the movie to basically give development to Megatron and Optimus as a brother-brother relationship, and to which I say, why didn't you show that? I would have loved so much to have seen that. Now, with Nemesis on the Decepticon side, the movie basically gives an excuse to include Drift and Crosshairs in the final act because, frankly, I don't know why they were cut. Jesus, these writers. That being said, the Autobots would actually have Bumblebee's dead body with them at the ignition chamber because they know Optimus possesses the matrix of leadership. And as described by Major Lennox,
he holds the only thing in the universe that can repower a Transformer's spark.
So yeah, a major battle would ensue with the Autobots battling Megatron and the Combaticons, including their combined form, Bruticus. And Nemesis would prove to be a brutal foe against the Autobots, pretty much subduing all of them. A particular moment I envisioned for this sequence would be a continuous one-take with the Autobots and their fruitless attempts to stop Optimus Prime. And that's where the Knights of Cybertron come in. They would swoop in and snatch Optimus, flying him to a different part of Cybertron, and there they would conduct a ritual where they would use use the talisman meant to be wielded by Cade to infect Quintessa's magic, and through the collective wisdom of the Primes, they would revert back Optimus to his noble state. So instead of having Cade wield a talisman, which would be the sword of Excalibur, have Optimus wield it, so he can be the last knight. Boom, there, problem solved. And then you can have the exact scene recreation where Optimus dismantles Infernicus, except instead of Infernicus, replace him with Bruticus. And you can even have the exact amazing scene where Optimus does a line swing with the sword and beheads the Infernicons, except you replace the Infernicons with the Combaticons. Boom, there, problem solved. Except from there, that's where the last part of the act would change. Optimus would revive Bumblebee, and then he and Bumblebee alone would journey into the ignition chamber. Optimus would have an emotional battle with his brother Megatron, who's outraged that Optimus has reverted back to the Autobot side. Bumblebee would be the one to show off his skills. He would traverse and leap across Quintessa's chamber carrying Vivian, and then he would eventually get Vivian to the staff and engage Quintessa, who tries to kill Vivian herself. Optimus would get the upper hand over Megatron, chopping his arm off and impaling his brother with the legendary sword of Excalibur, and then there they would have the emotional exchange of,
We were brothers once.
After rounds of dodging magical spells, keeping Quintessa away from Vivian, and showing his true warrior complex, Bumblebee would deflect Quintessa's magic back at her, seemingly killing her. Because, unfortunately, I feel like it's bullcrap that Bumblebee was able to just kill Quintessa with a shot of his plasma cannon. I don't think that's right.
Sting like a bee.
So then, Vivian removes the staff, stops the whole Kill Earth Save Cybertron event, and everything ends pretty much how the movie ended, except Optimus would hold a ceremony similar to that of Transformers Prime Predacons Rising, where Optimus graduates Bumblebee from Scout to Warrior. And there, Bumblebee would speak with his true voice, now a warrior, and he would give the end speech that ends the movie, not Optimus. Now that is how you end a story, saving room for more. Now those are the main core 3 things you can fix to salvage The Last Knight. But there are still a few more things that can be tweaked to make the movie a more enjoyable experience.
Bonjour, chérie. Je m'appelle Hot Rod.
Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. I do not care if you spent all of that time in France. When you think of the 1986 animated movie Hot Rod, you don't think French accent. You think Judd Nelson. Give him an American accent, damn it.
Drift now! Decepticons! Retreat!
Here's an idea. How about you show more battles with robots? And make sure we can actually explicitly see what's happening, because this...
Drift now! Decepticons! Retreat!
I pretty much had to rewatch 20 times to catch all the finite details. I don't care if they're fan favorites. Frankly, I don't give a diddly dar dan if they're fan favorites. At the end of Age of Extinction, the Dinobots retreated to the China wilderness free to roam. Don't have them magically show up in Cade's junkyard, especially if you're not going to show us all of them. No Dinobots is okay, Hasbro. You survived 3 movies without them.
Decepticon barricade was spotted at that same location.
Hey, so I really enjoyed the fact that Barricade was included, but his character, like the story, was half-assed. That being said, the first fight in the Transformers Cinematic Universe was Bumblebee versus Barricade. Maybe pay off that fight by an even faster-paced, gutsier one in the streets of London, not just a mediocre car chase that leaves Barricade to get an ouchie by a garbage truck.
Oh, that hurts.
And lastly...
Hola, amigo, come on!
Okay, I think the CGI people must have gotten the records confused because they put Leadfoot's head on Topspin's body. Because instead of being thrilled that an original trilogy Autobots survived the horrific events of Age of Extinction, I was left confused as to why The Last Knight took a cue out of regrettably the worst movie to ever plague cinema.
There's been some terrible mistake. Die, Jedi gods! Excuse me, I'm trapped. I can't get up. What are you doing?
And that about does it. That's everything I can offer to possibly salvage The Last Knight. I know a lot of it was mainly opinionative, but I also think that, like me, there are other Transformers fans out there that share the same opinions. So, with that being said, if you agree with me and you also like what you see, consider subscribing to this channel for more content. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until then, let's just wait and see what more Transformers mythology the studios can botch and disgrace.
All right, I'm gonna go slather myself in oil. Turn your back, Drift, if it offends your sensibility.
No, that is something you can't unsee.